to this number, but tonight I just want to let you know what 262 means for Kenya. Today it's exactly 35 days since the first case of COVID-19 was reported here in Kenya. And of course, when the CS Kagwe keeps on saying we can beat this, but if we don't take things seriously, the coronavirus can overwhelm us. That statement is very true, because let me show you the global statistics of COVID-19. Right now, 2.2 million cases with over, or we are talking about more than 147,000 deaths that have been confirmed. Now, the US is leading. The top 5 countries globally, the number 1 country is the US, which has over 705,000 confirmed cases, followed by Spain, which stands at 191,000 cases. Germany comes third at 141,000, UK at 114,000, and number 5 is France. Right, why I'm giving you this, the numbers are so overwhelming, but when you look at France, UK, Germany, and Spain, actually, both of them confirmed their first cases in late January. So 3 months down the lane, the number of confirmed cases, we are talking about over 100,000. Interestingly, the country that is leading globally, the United States of America, that has over 700,000 cases, the first confirmed case of COVID-19 was in March 5th. That's exactly 45 days. Kenya at 35 days. In Africa, the first case was recorded in Egypt, March 5th. The same day that US was confirming the first case, exactly 45 days since Egypt, the leading country as far as number of COVID-19 cases are concerned in Africa, has 2,844 confirmed cases, and South Africa has 2,783. Also, South Africa confirmed the first case of COVID-19 in March 12th. And that's almost 39 days. And Kenya, we are at 35. So what does that mean? It means that if we don't follow the guidelines provided by the World Health Organization and also the WHO, then the next few days could really make a difference in terms of having either more cases or flattening the curve. So it's upon me and you to follow the guidelines, because we really are not safe from this virus. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight. Apart from this, we also have much more, especially what county governments are doing to really help in combating spread of COVID-19. But first, our top stories.
In the last 24 hours, we have doubled our testing capacity to test 1,115 samples. Out of these, 16 have tested positive for the coronavirus disease. We are now 262, the number of confirmed cases in our country.
Trying every trick in the book, a driver ferrying fake coffin and purported mourners to Homa Bay among 16 new cases that have tested positive for coronavirus. Paying the price of disobedience, all shopping malls in Eastleigh closed for violating safety guidelines. And life must continue. A couple weds in 45 minutes with only 10 people attending to adhere to the government's directive on the coronavirus pandemic.
At Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News. The hashtag is Channel 1 News Weekend. Tell us where you're watching us from, and of course, tell us some of the measures that you are taking really to ensure that we do not jump as we're seeing other countries struggle with this virus. Once again, you're welcome to this broadcast. My name is Purity Museo, and Byron Abuli is our sign language interpreter. Let's now get started. A driver ferrying fake coffin and people disguised as mourners to Homa Bay County to beat the Nairobi lockdown is among 16 more people who have tested positive for the coronavirus in the last 24 hours. This now brings to 262 the number of confirmed cases in the country. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said the new cases include 15 Kenyans and 1 foreigner, warning Kenyans ignoring the directive to fight the pandemic that they are inviting death to themselves.
Kenyans have now devised tactics to beat the coronavirus lockdown. A driver ferrying fake coffin and a group of purported mourners to Homa Bay is among the latest 16 people to test positive for the virus, bringing the total number to 262 in the country.
In the last 24 hours, we have doubled our testing capacity to test 1,115 samples. Out of these, 16 have tested positive for the coronavirus disease. The governor of Homa Bay informed me this morning of a group of people who traveled from Nairobi in a private vehicle, pretending that they were attending a funeral, fully equipped with an empty coffin. I can confirm that the driver is positive.
Tabulating the breakdown of the confirmed cases on Saturday, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said 9 of the patients are from Nairobi, 5 from Mombasa, and 1 from Homa Bay County. They are all aged between 23 and 84 years.
15 of these cases who have tested positive are Kenyans and 1 is a foreigner. 12 male and 4 female. None of those has a history of travel, and none of those cases are in our quarantine centers.
The CS further confirmed that 7 people have been discharged, bringing the total number of recoveries to 60. 1 more patient has also succumbed to the disease, raising the COVID-19 death toll in Kenya to 12.
Until and unless we become self-disciplined, this disease is going to finish us. Somebody has now exported the disease to Homa Bay. Why? For very selfish reasons.
In Nairobi, the CS said the ministry has mapped out neighborhoods with high cases, which include Kilimani, Pipeline, Kawangware, Tasia, Kitisuru, Parklands, Buruburu, Kibra, Karen, South Sea, and Utawala.
What is required is a little bit more patience, sacrifice, and understanding from you, your families, friends, and Kenyans at large. We are also aware that within the same institutions, a number of people are going to the extent of offering bribes to get out of quarantine facilities.
Kagwe regretted the numbers could keep increasing as many Kenyans have disregarded government's guidelines to help fight the pandemic. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
A woman has been arrested and forcefully quarantined in Kisii County after she escaped from a quarantine facility in Kericho County to visit her lover in Kisii Town. Kisii County Directorate of Criminal Investigations Officer Joseph Kamurima confirmed that the woman and her boyfriend were apprehended and handed over to Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital medical officers for testing for coronavirus.
The woman, who is suspected to be COVID-19 positive, is said to have managed to escape a quarantine facility in Kericho County to visit her boyfriend to Kisii Town. The lady, who is reported to have recently traveled from Uganda, was arrested after the Directorate of Criminal Investigation officers swung into action upon receipt of information from Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital Administration, who had been alerted by their Kericho counterparts on the matter.
Today in the morning, we were able, very early in the morning, we zeroed on her, and we were able to get her within Daraja Bid area in the Kisii township. Subsequently, we had engaged the medical personnel who responded within time, and she was taken by the medical personnel, and we realized that she had spent a night within the Kisii County.
Kisii County Directorate of Criminal Investigations Officer Joseph Kathurima said the woman and her lover were both handed over to Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital medical officers for testing on coronavirus.
They have since been taken to KBC Teaching and Repair Hospital for the normal to undergo the normal procedure of sampling and trying to find out whether they could be COVID-19 victims. In the meantime, mine is to ask maybe members of public to remain calm. There is no cause for alarm. The situation is under control.
This comes as Kisii County Emergency Response Committee ordered immediate screening against COVID-19 disease to anyone entering the county at selected border points with neighboring countries. Separately, 3 people from Mandera County have been forcefully quarantined in Isiolo County after being smoked out from a lodging they had booked. The 3 were quarantined at Isiolo Girls Secondary School, which is one of the facilities earmarked for quarantine in Isiolo. Isiolo County Commissioner Herman Shambi said the move was based on information provided by members of the public about the new entrants.
Wamechunguza na maafisa wa afya wakasemekana wako sawa, temperature zao ziko sawa, lakini we just don't want to gamble. Tumesema tu tuangalie kwa hizo siku 14. Wakiwa clear, we have no problem with them, watatoka tu waende, lakini kwa sasa hivi lazima tuangalie.
The county's COVID-19 response committee that is co-chaired by the governor and the county commissioner ordered the immediate closure of all routes linking Isiolo to the northern Kenya counties of Garissa, Wajir and Mandera. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
So Kenny Tinega, you're saying, High Purity, Ken from Mombasa. The issue of coronavirus, I think Kenyans are just taking it as a joke, not taking government guidelines seriously, and with time, our ignorance might lead us to more worse situation than ever. Peter from Busia, all right, you're saying, I believe we shall overcome this COVID-19 if only we follow the government's directives, stop moving from place to place. The virus doesn't move itself, it's moved by us human beings. Kindly stop the movement of COVID-19. Keep your views coming at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News, the hashtag Channel 1 News Weekend. I will be having a look at your feedback, and of course, I understand and see most of us know these guidelines. The only issue is following them. Let's try and obey them. All malls and businesses remained closed for a second day in a row after the Eastleigh business community resolved to shut down all businesses in the area until further notice as means of combating the spread of COVID-19. The Minister of Health conducted fumigation of all businesses, with many traders welcoming the decision as a key step of controlling the spread of the disease. Eastleigh is among several Nairobi estates that are on security agencies' radar for disobeying precaution measures put by government to curb coronavirus spread.
Eastleigh First Avenue, usually a beehive of activities on a normal day. But on Saturday it was a different tale altogether. The businesses remained shut, with only police enforcing the shutdown and the Ministry of Health officials fumigating businesses and malls as people watched from a distance. Some traders were caught off guard, with some lamenting the short notice.
Ile shida tuko nayo ni gava. Hawaangalii ile time poa ya kufanya hizo shughuli. Ndio ukifunga job saa hizi na by 7 tunafaa tukue kwa nyumba, inamaanisha tunatoka hapa 5. So wanatu distract na shughuli, na unajua tuko na wateja wale tunafaa tuwatumikie.
Nauza vitunguu hapa na boga. Saa hii watu wangu wameambia watu wafunge. Vitunguu nilikuwa nimeagiza iletwe Nairobi. Itapelekwa wapi? So serikali ikutangaza, serikali kuu ikutangaza wafunge kazi, tufunge kazi kama hapa kama Koji. Swali ni hii vitunguu nimeleta kutoka huko Meru na kule kwingine itaipeleka wapi?
Others lauded the directive, citing the huge traffic the business experiences daily.
Okay, the closure of all the businesses, it's a very good step because it's going to control the corona. People are not observing the rules that are supposed to be observed. They are not keeping the 1 meter. People are careless. They are spitting all over. They are not washing hands. Some people are so careless.
The Ministry of Health urged residents to stay indoors, as many did not observe social distancing, and further said the fumigation exercise was a measure taken to avert the spread of the disease in the densely populated estate.
The exercise has been successful. That's what we can say. And we have received maximum cooperation, especially from the business community. And we thank them so much, especially that they are mitigating on measures to be able to control the coronavirus. We started this exercise not today, but on 27th of March. And we have been doing this exercise mostly at night. But we decided to do this exercise during the day because we took an advantage of the business community of Eastleigh that decided to convince their member to close. And what we're encouraging our people is that we should be able to adopt that behavior change. So that because this pandemic is real and it is here with us, so that we can be able to fight it together and control it.
The Eastleigh business community undertook the move as most of the people in the malls were not following the regulations set by the government. They also want the government to start mass testing for COVID-19 disease in the area since the population is quite high. The government cited Eastleigh, Kayole, Ruai as some of the city estates that have openly disregarded the Ministry of Health guidelines on coronavirus, among them social distancing and observing the dusk to dawn curfew. On a normal day, Eastleigh is usually a hive of activities with many businesses and human traffic. With the threat of the coronavirus pandemic, the Eastleigh business community and the Ministry of Health have embarked on two issues: closure of businesses and fumigation of those businesses. Reporting for Channel 1 News from Eastleigh First Avenue, I'm Ben Troinjo.
Thanks, Ben. Elsewhere, long-distance public service operators have been forced to turn to courier services to make ends meet following the ban on travel in and out of the Nairobi metropolitan area. The operators are, however, saying the business is not as profitable, with most of the transport companies now turning to the cargo hauling. Our reporter Suleiman Yeri visited several bus terminali in the CBD and filed the following report.
As public transport sector remains one of the worst hit sector in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, public service operators have ventured into new ways of sustaining their businesses. The ban of passengers transport in and out of Nairobi metropolitan giving rise to new business innovations to keep going. This is the current scenario in most of the public service vehicles that on normal occasion are fully fitted with passenger seats. The seats have now been replaced by huge empty voids suitable for cargo. According to the regulations governing the cargo sector, vehicles operating in the business should not have seats.
Sina gari ya kubeba mzigo juu lazima nigaramike kutoa ile basi yangu viti nini ndio niweze kupata hiyo uwezo wa kubeba parcel.
However, some of the PSVs seemed not to follow the directive, loading goods on empty seats and on the carriers. But to switch to the courier business, there is a sacrifice to make. You have to forfeit the public service insurance and purchase commercial insurance.
Sasa hii gari tuitumie kama PSV sasa. Tunatumia kama lori commercial. Insurance tumebadilisha, tunatumia commercial insurance. Sasa hii ni boot ni ya commercial boot ya mzigo. Huwezi tumia insurance ya abiria na kwa mzigo.
Most of the operators lamented that the sector was not profitable like the public transport, where they had a fleet of more than 20 buses in a day, forcing them to lay off staff.
Sasa biashara imeharibika kabisa. Unaona kama ni matatu kama hizi inabeba mzigo, tulikuwa tunabeba abiria. Sasa inabidi mpaka matatu tunabeba siku 3 kupakia ili mzigo ukue kawaida ama gari ikue imejaa ili tupelekee customer. Na sasa makastoma wengi walalamika kuhusu mzigo. Juu mzigo inabidi ikae siku 3.
Ingawaje ni ngumu sababu tuko wengi. Kwenye habari za magari tumemaliza, hakuna abiria tunashughulikia. Mengi zaidi tunashughulikia tu parcel. Kwa hiyo sisi tunakosa, tunalala njaa, tunakosa pesa. Maana sasa pesa ya parcel sio yetu, ni ya wenye magari. Sisi wenyewe watu wa hali ya chini hatuna chochote, hatuna namna.
The operators are urging the government to ease the ban of people moving in and out of Nairobi.
Hii ningesema watufungulie, tutafuata sheria kama vile town service tunafuata.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
In Kitengela, a youthful couple on Saturday tied their knot in a low-key 45-minute church wedding in Kajiado. The wedding that was attended by 10 people in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic saw Mary Wamboi and Simon Mutuma fulfill their dream of a church wedding that had in early plans a list of 800 invited guests. Take a look.
At the Kitengela Presbyterian Church of East Africa, Mary Wamboi and Simon Mutuma tied the knots, fulfilling their dream of having a church wedding.
Harusi ambayo ni takatifu. Tumepewa dakika 45.
The liveliness that usually characterizes weddings, however, was missing here. The church had no audience, no bridal team, neither parents from either sides. The couple also wore face masks. Here, only 10 people graced the occasion, the coronavirus affecting just about every area of our lives.
Yes.
According to the bride and groom, their dream bridal team was made up of 40 people, with about 800 invited guests, only for the unforeseen to happen.
Mpango wangu ulikuwa ushuhudiwe na watu wengi, lakini nashukuru Mungu sababu leo ni mpango wangu wake.
Lile la muhimu ni kwamba tumeweza kuchukua vows because that was the most important. The wedding part of it was supposed to be very colorful, but then after the wedding we have a marriage that we have to take care of, and we believe God is going to see us through in our marriage despite that.
The guests were the best couple, 2 church elders, presiding reverend, pastor, and 2 church members, all adhering to the preventive measures.
Ningeomba ya kwamba makanisa yale mengine yote na wale wengine wote ambayo wako na mipango ya harusi sasa wajue mambo yamebadilika, wakubali vile kulivyo na waendelee bila kujali kama kuna umati. Harusi ni ya mtu na mwenzake.
After the service, the couple posed for several photos in the church compound before leaving for their Kitengela home on a low note. Kamchemenza for Channel 1 News.
And that's actually the first wedding I'm seeing a couple put on masks, and they look really beautiful, honestly. Caroline Chomba, Hey Purity, Kenyans should understand that for coronavirus to end, it starts with them and follow directives given by the government. Right. Clarence Cypher, it is sad to see some Kenyans ignoring instructions from government without knowing they are the ones forcing more laws. Right. Claudia Caesar, watching Channel 1 News, right? Blessed, the government should think on how all people in the country will be tested to know the status of the citizens, right? Keep your feedback, opinions, tell us where you're watching us from, and of course some of the measures that you are taking, and actually if you understand all of them, and what do you think Kenyans are disregarding some of these laws or finding it difficult to obey them. At Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News, the hashtag as usual is Channel 1 News Weekend. We take our first breather. Don't go too far. We still have much more coming up shortly.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Na kutafuta nini? Mimi nitaka kujua haki yangu nitaipata vipi?
Sasa wewe ungemuuliza mumeo marehemu. Mimi yanihusu nini sasa?
Shamuuliza.
Nawaambia hilo mwende mbio. Ile mjue ni haki yenu.
Mama. Hapa lazima kieleweke. Lazima wajue marage ni mboga. Kabisa?
I have an important call I want to make. Daddy, before you make that call, please, can you listen to me?
Daktari, nisaidie mtoto wangu asife. Mtoto wangu asife, daktari.
Hospitali tutafanya vile tunaweza, sisi madaktari tuweze kumsaidia.
On the next episode of Elena's Ghost.
I beg you,
what you and I have talked about. Don't breathe a word about it to anyone in this house.
We all thought that she had died, and that was when Eduardo had met you and fell in love with you. Elena, you are the only woman that Eduardo has ever loved, and he still loves you.
Yes, Father, my mother told me. She would never lie to me about that.
No, of course not, but...
Elena, you are truly a wonderful woman. You never abandoned me. In spite of everything I did to you.
Glad you're watching Channel 1 News Weekend. Welcome back. A section of Kaya elders now say traditional healing methods may be the secret to defeating the novel coronavirus. The elders claim COVID-19 can be treated using boiled herbs, a process they claim was used to treat a similar disease known as kivuti in the 1950s.
Ni kiti ya jadi ya Wagiriama naita kihi cha magulumaha. Alafu atajifunika na anafunikwa blanketi gubi-gubi. Gubi-gubi kila pahali ili ile joto liweze kuingia katika nafasi zote za pua na mdomo. Sehemu ambayo ndio inaleta inaingiza virusi katika ule mfereji wa kupumua.
This traditionally prepared steam bath is what the elders claim may hold the cure to COVID-19.
Hii tiba si tiba ambayo ni tiba ina watu ambao ni kama matabibu maalum. Hii ni tiba ya jamii ambayo karibu kila mtu alikuwa anaelezwa mambo yake katika zile nyanja zetu za kupeana elimu. Maana haya yalikuwa yanapatikana kutoka kwa wazee wakati wa kiketi wakifanya vikao vinavyoitwa vikao vya dhome.
The process is called cheruka, a healing process with a traditional touch used in the past to treat kivuti, a respiratory disease the elders say characteristically resembled the coronavirus. The elders say during that period, a person affected by kivuti was normally isolated, and those caring for the patient also underwent the same healing process. Currently, there is no known cure for COVID-19. These elders, however, believe that given a chance, they can help Kenya slow down the pandemic that continued to decimate the globe.
Right, the elders there believing that the use of herbs is the way to go. Confirmed reports indicate that 10 people, including police officers, have been swept away by floods along the West Pokot-Elgeyo-Marakwet border. Heavy rains pounding the area is said to have started early Saturday afternoon, causing massive flooding that swept away Chesogon Police Post, buildings at Chesong Market and Cheptulei Boys Secondary School. The Kenya Meteorological Department had predicted more downpour in many parts of the country, warning of massive flooding.
In Amkura West Ward, Teso South in Busia County, over 100 houses were swept away by floods. Affected families live in Odioi, where about 55 houses were destroyed. The floods have also caused havoc in Akiramasi, Patarere areas.
I'm seeing the people are going to lose their lands. I wonder where we shall get our settlements. Maybe I may only appeal to the county government and the national government to come up with the ways of measures of preventing all this.
Crops like beans, soybeans, maize, finger, millet, groundnuts, cassava, potatoes and sorghum were destroyed, leaving small-scale farmers in distress.
Sasa hapa tunapandanga mimea kama maharagwe, mahindi, mtama na windi. Sasa kama hapa Sasa hii ni karibu nusu mwaka yote imeenda.
Serikali tafadhali ipate kutusaidia na ituangalishie tu namna vile tunaweza zuia hii maji, na hata sasa hata hii chakula vile imeenda hivi. Hatuna mahali pengine pa kulima, tunalima tu yote ndani ya maji, hapa kuna shamba lingine juu.
The residents, through their member of county assembly, are appealing to the government to construct dikes in the region which is prone to flooding.
The whole of Akiriamas now is entirely in need of support from the county government and the national government, particularly on the side of food.
According to the Kenya Meteorological Department, Busia County is among regions that will continue to receive high rainfall intensity. Other areas are Lake Victoria Basin, highlands west of Rift Valley, Central and South Rift Valley, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Migori, Kisii, Nyamira, Trans Nzoia, Baringo, Uasin Gishu, Elgeyo Marakwet, Nandi, Nakuru, Narok, Kericho, Bomet, Kakamega, Vihiga, and Bungoma. The temperatures in those regions as from the 19th of April 2020 are expected to range between 12 to 29 degrees Celsius, 20th of April between 11 to 29 degrees Celsius, and the 21st and 22nd of April 2020, temperatures will vary between 10 to 30 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, unconfirmed reports indicate that over 10 people, including police officers, have been swept away by floods along the West Pokot Elgeyo Marakwet border. Heavy rains pounding the area are said to have started early Saturday afternoon, causing massive flooding that swept away Chesogon Police Post buildings at Cheson Market and Chiptulel Boys Secondary School. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnusu.
And a section of Baringo leaders led by area Governor Stanley Kiptis are blaming recent spate of banditry attacks in the area on laxity of the security officers in the area. The leaders claim over 6 people have been killed by bandits in the last 6 years, and they now want the county commissioner, Henry Wafula, transferred for allegedly engaging in partisan politics in the area at the expense of local lives.
Cases of bandit attacks in parts of North and South Baringo have been on the rise in recent weeks, with attacks so far claiming 6 lives. Area leaders are now blaming the frequent cases of insecurity in the area to lethargy by security apparatus in the county, pointing an accusing finger on the county commissioner, Henry Wafula, for his response to the crisis that they say is threatening to get out of hand.
Several names. Yawakora. You know their names. You know their villages. You know their homes. You know their locations. You know their chiefs. Lakini, instead of you sending the very askaris to look for the criminals, you send several askaris to look for one person, a leader.
Area Governor Stanley Kiptis accused the county commissioner for engaging in partisan politics that culminated to the arrest of his fierce critic Batuapa MCA Ruben Chepsongoi late last night.
Mheshimiwa is Mheshimiwa. His village is known. Where he stays is known. Just call upon him and he will be there. Yes. But to just go there, send the security personnel who are supposed to be protecting our people, and being in those areas where cattle rustling is rampant, is misdirecting the energy of our security personnel.
The leaders called for the immediate release of the MCA to ease the rising tensions in the area, saying the county commissioner should be transferred.
That the work of the county commissioner in Baringo is so poor that we don't need him anymore. His services. Just to transfer him elsewhere.
Benson Drioba reporting for Channel 1 News.
Elsewhere, Narok County has commenced mass screening of residents as part of its efforts to fight the coronavirus pandemic. The exercise will focus more on area bordering neighboring counties. These and more stories in news making headlines in the counties.
53 MCAs in Busia County have donated 8.7 million shillings from their allowances to help in the war against the coronavirus pandemic. While tabling the second supplementary budget for the financial year 2019-2020, the MCAs said the funds would boost the National Emergency Response Fund set up in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We have foregone our allowances, our per diems, and our domestic and foreign travels, as directed by the President of this country, Honorable Muigai Uhuru Kenyatta.
Meanwhile, Narok County has kicked off mass screening at its border points in Kilgoris, Suswa, Mau Narok, Nyagusho, and Kihanja. Narok Public Health Chief Officer Geoffrey Sang says anyone found with COVID-19 related symptoms will be denied access to the region.
Ifanywe hiyo ugonjwa isiene ama isingie kwa kaunti yetu, kwa vile tunajua kwamba tunapakana na counties ambayo wamepata kesi.
While Mandera Governor Ali Roba has called for maximum cooperation from security teams in the county to help in the implementation of guidelines on fighting the coronavirus pandemic. The governor says there is need for the county to strictly adhere to the guidelines as Mandera has so far registered 6 positive coronavirus cases.
The National Ministry of Health must be aware of these realities and provide appropriate support for us to manage the challenges. Our fragile health system is not adequately prepared to deal with this heavy challenge of COVID-19 outbreak.
Elsewhere in Moranga, county government has directed closure of all salons and barbershops in an effort to curb any possible spread of the coronavirus. The move has not gone down well with players in the sector who have come out to protest the decision, pleading with county government to allow them resume operations. But Area Governor Mwangi wa Iria maintains the directive is irreversible.
Hata kama tutakuwa tukiona mtu mmoja tu kwa siku, hata tukiambiwa maagizo yenye tutafuata, tafadhali tu utukubalisha turudi kwa kazi zetu.
Mimi nataka niambiwe vile mtu anaweza tengeneza nywele kwa mwanadada akiwa mita 1.5.
And in Isiolo, county government has started distributing food supplies to underprivileged families in efforts to cushion them from food shortage occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. Isiolo County Governor Mohamed Kuti says the food rations will be distributed to 16,000 households that have been identified as needy. In Kericho, local authorities in the county have destroyed over 2,000 litres of illicit brew over the last 2 days in a crackdown on the trade. Kapsao Senior Chief Samuel Chebochok says 2,000 litres of Kangara and 160 litres of Changa were destroyed in a sting operation in the area.
Watu wakikutana kwa kikundi wanasahau kwamba kuna hii ugonjwa ambaye inaitwa corona.
Irene Mchuma, Udim, Channel 1.
In other news, players in the fresh produce export sector are calling on the Kenya Airways to lower their cargo prices as the current 300 shillings per kilo is not manageable. The farmers say an extra cost will be passed on to struggling consumers, making Kenya produce expensive and less competitive international market.
The horticulture sector contributes an average of 150 billion shillings annually into the country's economy, with these figures projected to decrease by 70% according to key players in the sector as lockdown in key international markets due to the coronavirus pandemic persists. However, according to horticulture exporters, there's still demand for Kenyan produce in some of the European markets. Exporters are calling for the national carrier Kenya Airways to lower the cost of cargo that they say is beyond many small-scale farmers. But logistics to access the markets are a challenge.
Costs of airlifting a kilo by Kenya Airways. Currently, they are charging us about $3 a kilo. Other airlines, Ethiopian Airlines, Turkish Airline, Lufthansa, they are charging us about $2 a kilo. So that makes, if then you export with KQ, it means your produce become expensive, the demand in Europe become low.
According to Edward Muriu, the proprietor of Nevasha-based Ruby Ranch, the decision by key destination market to extend their lockdown will only worsen the situation, and the Kenyan government should facilitate access to new market and also subsidize input used in the sector.
We need to make sure that farming becomes profitable by ensuring that all the barriers to entry, both in terms of actual primary production and export, and even our local market, is removed totally.
On Thursday morning, Kenya Airways dispatched a Boeing 787 Dreamliner passenger aircraft from Nairobi to London, loaded with 40 tons of fresh produce as part of initiative to keep the sector going. Benson Dropa reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Globally, coronavirus has been spreading rapidly around the world, with more than 2.2 million cases now confirmed in 185 countries. At least 147,000 people have died.
The U.S. has seen more than 3 times as many confirmed cases as any country. There are nearly 700,000 confirmed infections and more than 36,000 deaths. However, at least 4 states may be able to loosen social distancing measures next month. An influential model tracking the coronavirus pandemic says the model's new projections show that Vermont, West Virginia, Montana and Hawaii could open as early as May 4th. In Spain, one of the countries hardest hit by the pandemic, the death toll from COVID-19 moved past 20,000 on Saturday. A total of 20,043 people have now died, 565 of them in the past 24 hours. The number of declared cases now stands at 191,000. A total of 15,464 people hospitalized in the UK who tested positive for coronavirus have died. The number is an increase of 888 on the previous 24 hours. A total of 357,023 people have been tested, 114,217 of them tested positive. Because of the current situation, Queen Elizabeth has asked that there be no gun salutes to mark her birthday on Tuesday, the first such request from the palace in the British monarch's 68-year reign. In Japan, doctors have warned that the country's medical system could collapse amid a wave of new coronavirus cases. Emergency rooms have been unable to treat some patients with serious health conditions due to the extra burden caused by the virus, officials say. Japan, which initially appeared to have the virus under control, passed 10,000 confirmed cases on Saturday. More than 200 people have now died with COVID-19, and the capital, Tokyo, remains the worst affected area. Closer home in Africa, 20,270 cases have been confirmed, with 4,709 recoveries and 1,027 deaths. Nigerian President's Chief of Staff Abba Kyari has succumbed to COVID-19. There have been 493 confirmed coronavirus infections with 17 deaths. Algeria has 2,418 confirmed cases and 364 deaths. Ethiopia 105 confirmed cases and 3 fatalities. Tanzania stands at 147 confirmed cases and 5 deaths, and Uganda has confirmed 55 cases with no fatalities. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Betty, for that global perspective. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to ravage the world, there is limited information regarding risk factors for mostly people with pre-existing medical conditions. On our coronavirus fact sheet tonight, we tell you which health conditions can put you at the risk of infection.
There are people who are at risk of getting to severe illness. These are the people who have other underlying diseases that have made their immunity to be weak. These include people with non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, cancer, and asthma, among others, and also people who have HIV and TB, people who have low immunity, and therefore if they get the disease, they end up having severe problems. That is, they end up getting complications and needing more intensive care, and it may lead to death. So these people need to be more protected even when they're at home. They also need to take care of themselves and make sure they're getting their medication and they are adhering to all the rules, that is washing hands, putting on masks, and keeping distance.
So most of your feedback is in regard to the rules or adhering to the rules on preventing COVID-19. Glad you are aware of them. I will be having a look at them when we come back after this second short commercial break. Don't go anywhere.
Next on.
And now we want to talk about marriage. I'm a counseling psychologist. I'm also a trainer, and I practice as a therapist as well.
Which is an organization that speaks to marriages and the family as a whole. But I'm also a pastor and a counseling psychologist.
What is this that you want in a man, the Mr. Right? Don't expect him to be right when you're seated in your own cocoon and you're not doing anything to perfect.
Once you're in the box, and then you're settled, then you say I do and put that ring. With this ring I thee wed. There's that tendency that we now return to default setting, and then we feel like we were played or gypped, you know.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Na kutafuta nini? Mimi nataka kujua haki yangu nitaipata vipi?
Sasa wewe ungemuuliza mumeo marehemu. Mimi yanihusu nini sasa?
Shamuuliza.
Nawaambia hilo mwende mbio. Ile mjue ni haki yenu.
Mama. Hapa lazima kieleweke. Lazima wajue marage ni mboga. Kabisa.
I have an important call I want to make, please. Daddy, before you make that call, please, can you listen to me?
Daktari, nisaidie mtoto wangu asife. Mtoto wangu asife, daktari.
Hospitali tutafanya vile tunaweza, sisi madaktari tuweze kumsaidia.
And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. It's now time for sports news. Harambee Stars and Soccer Bruges FC midfielder Johanna Omolo has donated foodstuffs to over 150 families in efforts to plug the budgetary deficit of vulnerable households affected by the coronavirus pandemic.
The Belgium-based midfielder, through his foundation based in Dandora, Phase 4, gave out foodstuffs to targeted households so as to alleviate their suffering occasioned by the spread of the virus.
Kwa hiyo msaada tunapatana kwa siku ya leo, familia zao sasa shiba, watoto wao wataweza kula, na hasa kitu cha maana ni ile kuwapatia imani. Sisi tuko nao pamoja kama foundation. So hiyo ndio pengo tunajaribu kuziba. Kwa maana wengi wao hawako makazini. Tuko nao kwa manyumba. Sasa ile kidogo Omola anaweza kuwa nao ndamamua wacha ashe na jamii yake ya Dandora. Serikali inasema stay home. Ile kitu foundation inafanya, tunataka wakaaji badala ya kwenda kuhangaika na kutafuta chakula kwa familia, wakae kwa nyumba. Hiyo ndio kitu kubwa sana tunafanya kwa saizi. We give them something small, wakae kwa nyumba.
The philanthropic gesture from the Stars midfielder will boost the vulnerable homes, even as the foundation implored upon the community to adhere to government directives issued on curbing the spread of the virus, with the 262 cases and 12 deaths reported in the country so far.
So ile changamoto kubwa sana ni hili janga likiweza ongezeka, kutakuwa na shida kubwa sana. Ile kutamana ni kama Wakenya wote tukiweza fuata maagizo ya serikali imetoa, tukiweza ifuata, tutaweza maliza, tutaikoma kwa haraka na shughuli tarudi normal kwa haraka sana.
The pandemic has resulted to halting of sports activities, forcing cancellation of leagues and matches globally, situation that has left many footballers source of livelihood in limbo.
Naweza sema imekuwa ni changamoto kubwa sana juu ukiangalia kwa game nasema tulikuwa tunapata ile motivation, napata John Omolo alikuwa anatumotivate sisi kama Dandora Youth, tunapata tukiwin, kuna ile allowance kidogo ilikuwa inatoka. Sasa hii ambapo hatuna hiyo game na pia hakuna mazoezi yote yanaendelea, tunasema ni changamoto juu sasa hii unapata tuna hustle mtaani, so ndio tuweze kupata at least ile kitu kidogo at the end of the day.
Janga ya COVID-19 imetuaffect sana. Kwanza sisi watu wa jua kali, sisi tuko na familia na tujui tufanye nini. Kitu ya kwanza, mzee wangu anafanyanga kwa magari na already magari zilistopishwa. Sasa tunashukuru huyu kijana wetu Omolo Amalo Foundation ametusaidia, tumepata chakula, na tunaomba kama kuna mfadhili mwingine mwenye anaweza tusaidia sisi kama wakaaji wa Dandora wa ghetto, tungeomba ajitokezee atusaidie juu sisi wengine tuko na familia, hatujui tufanyaje familia zetu.
Familia wengi ambao wameweza kupokea msaada wa unga, sukari na chumvi ambao ni ya muhimu sana katika familia zao. Na tunashukuru sana Bwana Molo kwa sababu ya kufikiria jamii ya Dandora.
Bernard Okumu, The Sport at 9.
The Kenya Karate Kai Association Chairman Maurice Alo has called on the government to consider sportsmen and women in the country by funding them during these hard times when the world is battling the coronavirus pandemic. Alo says the sportsmen and women have been having a difficult moment making their ends meet after all sporting activities were suspended due to the outbreak.
As the world continues to battle the spread of the coronavirus, sportsmen and women in Kenya have been in a difficult moment as they make their ends meet without any sporting action. Kenya Karate Gojukai Association Chairman Maurice Alo has called on the government to consider sportsmen and women in the country by funding them during these hard times. He challenged the government to release funds to the sports ministry to cater for the welfare of the sportsmen.
If there is a way they can help the sportsmen, it will be really good and helpful to our sportsmen because most of them depend on hand to mouth jobs.
Elsewhere, Kenyan tennis coach Rosemary Owino has urged the government to help offer psychological support to Kenyan sportsmen and women in order to help them overcome problems during these tough times as the country continues to battle the coronavirus pandemic. Owino has said that athletes might become anxious or lose focus and might have trouble communicating with teammates, controlling their temper, or even just motivating themselves to exercise.
We know that every single sport has been stopped at the moment for obvious reasons, and then our athletes are staying at home also for obvious reasons. And trying to eat healthy is a problem. They have no income. Now we have to understand that most of our athletes, because of what they get paid, it's a lot more of a hand to mouth. So it's a bit of a struggle right now. And this causes anxiety for them, causes stress. So we're dealing beyond just the virus.
At the same time, Owino has asked coaches to help players to not only focus on the physical side of sport, but also focus on their minds in order to increase their motivation and tackle any related concerns.
These things are things we have to try and think about daily when we try and find out how they're doing. And yeah, so there's no normal, nothing's normal, but we try and manage the normalcy. So basically it's a lot more to do with coping mechanisms at the moment than anything else.
Frederick Muki for Channel 1 Sports.
AFC Leopards left back Washington Munene has agreed that footballers are undergoing through a tough moment without any sporting action. He has urged players to keep hope alive and continue training from homes. Munene joined the Leopards last year after signing a one-year-long loan deal from Wazito FC.
AFC Leopards left back Washington Munene is among a list of footballers from top-tier league sides who have intensified their training from home as the country continues to battle the spread of coronavirus. Munene has, however, expressed optimism that the country will be able to overcome the coronavirus pandemic as he misses to be back in action for the Leopards.
We're praying for normalcy to return. As you know, for now, we don't know even what will happen to this season, what will happen after the situation. We're just trying to just trying to be hopeful that we come out healthy and alive from the situation.
FC Leopards are in the 6th position on the Kenyan Premier League table with 40 points after playing 23 league matches. The last time the team was in action was during the Mashemeji Derby, where they lost 1-0 to arch-rivals Gor Mahia. Frederick Muki for Channel 1 Sports.
And Arsenal players are set to be the first in the Premier League to agree to a pay cut after being offered Champions League qualification incentives. The Ghana's players will take a 12.5% wage cut but be reimbursed if qualify for the next season's Champions League or the 2021-2022 competition. They will get £100,000 bonus for reaching next year's Champions League. And that's the end of sports news tonight, but it's not a night before I have a look at your feedback. As promised, at Bobo Wino on Twitter, the secret to defeating coronavirus. I remember what Kaya elders are doing can be of great help, all right? And then who else? A Gray Ketar watching from Komarok Estate, Nairobi. Let us all follow the guidelines put up by the Ministry of Health. And then we have Saidi John. You're saying, let's all stop the movement for corona. Stay at home, sanitize, wash your hands. Corona is dangerous, says the Teso North Youth President. Wangari Gaido, all right, watching Channel 1 News Weekend. Thank you. And then someone else on Twitter, you're saying, Cyrus Benjamin, you're watching, as always, Channel 1 News Weekend. Quickly, let me have a look at you. Feedback on Facebook, and of course there was a very important message. Wambua Patel, you're saying those most letting President Kenyatta down are security officers. Why? You say if you need to go to rural areas, you just need to have cash. Security officers are greedy and they don't care whether this pandemic is serious. Place Media, you can highlight this, your opinion there, but also the CS was highlighting that during his daily briefing today. All right, Joshua King, Kenyans, please, let's, COVID-19 is real. Let's fight and kill the virus. Calling Sothiambo, watching Channel 1 News Weekend. I am Ian MU. High Purity from Makadara, Nairobi. Hope we overcome coronavirus. Moses Kibet, thank you for watching. And then Ralph Cassie also watching Channel 1 News Weekend. Thank you so much for watching. And just a reminder why the projections by both the Minister of Health, remember late last month, the Minister of Health was projecting that if we are not taking this matter seriously and following the guidelines, we could report up to more than 10,000. And there are so many projections, and why these projections could be true if we don't follow the guidelines there. Let me just remind you the top 5 countries that are leading with coronavirus cases in the world. The first one is the United States of America, which is at 700,000. And most interestingly, the first case for coronavirus at the US was reported on March the 5th, exactly 45 days from now. And Kenya recorded the first case on the 13th of March. And now we are talking about 700,000 cases in US and 37,000 deaths. And coming to Africa, the first case, of course, recorded in Egypt was March 5th as well. And right now, they have 2,000 confirmed cases. We are at 262 at 35 days. We could decide or choose to flatten this curve by obeying the guidelines provided by the Minister of Health, or ignore them, and the numbers could be jumping anytime from now. The days ahead are the most crucial days for Kenya. The choice is with us. Thank you so much for watching Channel 1 News Weekend this Saturday evening. My name is Purity Museo. Byron Abuli has been our sign language interpreter. Stay safe, good night, and God bless.